Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to this interview. Today we have the incredible Darren, the self-doubt coach, but he has so much experience. He went from an engineering background to an IT support, and now he's helping so many people around the world overcome the doubting beliefs, overcome their blockages, and so many emotions that keep them stuck where they really are right now in their life. He's helping them see what's possible beyond what visualize in this reality. Because as we chatted a little bit earlier, there are so many possible realities, and it's all about which one we choose to embrace. Welcome, Darren. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
We're really happy to have you, and I know that everybody who's watching this video, they will learn a lot from your stories, your wisdom, and your beautiful energy that you're bringing here in this video. So I know, Darren, that you went from an electronics engineering background to IT support, and now you're a mindset coach. How did this happen? How did you go from one phase to another?
I think it was just like a natural progression in life. So, like, I started off in electronics because as a kid, I was always fascinated by it. And, you had these little kits that you could build and all this kind of stuff. And then that led me into leaving school and then going into like the higher education, and learning electronics, and then getting a job in it. And I initially started working on welding controllers, which is quite interesting. I did things on high voltages. So like the high voltage module in one of these like scanning x-ray machines. Like I think it's like they use them in MRI machines. So this stuff had like 10,000 volts and 30,000 volts. And I remember one day I got, thankfully it was a discharge, it had actually switched off, but I had 10,000 volts going up that finger and 30,000 volts going up that finger at the same time.
Wow.
And I remember going, and you lose control of your muscles. It's a really weird experience. And I remember all I could do was go, "Ah." That was all I could say. And then I just felt really quite unwell for about a day. You get really complacent. Uh,
Mm,
and that complacency and remembering what you've actually done as kind of is having significance now in my coaching, because we all forget, like we were saying earlier on, wasn't we? We all forget what we've done in our lives and the significance of those achievements and experiences. And so, like back in the electronics, it was all about playing with high voltages, and then it was playing with um, professional audio equipment and going to free concerts and all this kind of stuff. Doing some custom stuff for Brian Adams. If you know who Brian Adams is, he's a Canadian musician and singer, and all this. And then I remember this. Then a Jamaican guy called Byron Lee bringing us this white rum. He came and visited us, and he bought us presents, and it was white rum, and we was plastered at work. It was just so funny. It's interesting how what you've done in your life comes back. So working in the school, I then use my professional audio experience and knowledge, because it was all about working with these graphic equalizers and these massive mixing desks. And then I started to work on the shows that the school did, and it was all about like the audio side of things and the lighting and all this kind of stuff, and
mm,
helping kids with video editing and all this kind of stuff. But like all my life, I've been like the person people come to and they feel comfortable talking to, and just talking about anything. And I mean, I can meet someone I've never met before, and in 20 minutes they could have told me their complete life story, warts, special things, everything. It's like I must have this aura of saying, do you know what? You can tell him anything, and they do, whether I want them to or not. They do. Um, and then, but I've throughout my life I've been like that, and I've always known what to say to someone to help them to feel better.
Mhm.
It's almost like this intuitive, like you work on an intuitive level, and I do exactly the same. And I absolutely believe it's part channeled, part me, part whatever it is.
It's a co-creation, isn't it?
It is, and then that then led me into um, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I started doing research a lot, and then that led me into actually eliminating my type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
My diabetic the diabetes doctor saying, how did you do this?
Hmm.
Which is insane. They should know this stuff.
Yeah.
And then that led me into studying for a year as to be a health coach, and that then a lot of that was coaching methodologies, and so like you put the actual structure into what I'd naturally do anyway, and then that led me into eventually doing what I do now, and
Mm.
helping people with mindset and self-doubt and imposter syndrome and all this kind of stuff. Changing a complete direction and career can be a scary thing, but
Mhm.
to be honest, it wasn't. It shouldn't be.
Mhm.
You're following your heart and your true path. I may have advice from my mentor from 2 years ago and I didn't act upon it. And then I'll hear it again, maybe a few months back, and it will resonate, it'll mean something, and I'll feel compelled to act upon it. And it's all about timing and divine timing and
Mhm.
where you're meant to be at that point in your life. And I think like going into electronics was right for me then.
Mhm.
Going into the IT and the computers and then the audio and all this stuff was right for me then. And then ultimately being a coach, that's what I feel is my true path. So it's like you had to do a few things to get to the desired destination.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's okay to do that. It's not like, you get to 18 and you instantly know what you need to do in life and all this kind of stuff. You don't. And it develops and it shows itself to you when the time is right. So, it would have been nice to get into the coaching side of things like in my 20s, but I wouldn't have had the life experience. I wouldn't have had the knowledge back then, and I do now. So it's right for me now, and it's right for sounding very grandiose, but right for the world to have me in it
Mhm.
as this coach like now. Uh,
Mhm.
it's all about this divine timing and what's right for you at the time. So like when I'll say to people, because they'll say, "Oh, I wish I'd have done this years ago," and I'll say, "But maybe it wasn't right for you then. Maybe it wouldn't have had the significance then. Maybe it could have presented itself to you 10 years ago, but
Mhm.
you wouldn't have known the significance and the value of that
Mhm.
till you do now." And I think that's part of coaching as well, not just to guide people in the right things to do. Um, it's guiding them to find their own truth and
Mhm.
in their own timing as well.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Would you say that the self-doubt part comes because it's not the right timing for them, or would you say there are other reasons why people doubt themselves?
There are lots and lots and lots and lots of reasons why people doubt themselves.
What's your favorite?
One of the big ones is comparison.
Okay.
Oh, and this is part of, and I know this is kind of cliche, blaming the media and all this kind of stuff, but it's true. You just look at the TV shows and the newspapers, and the TV shows like MTV Cribs, and it's showing you this celebrity's home and how wonderful it is, and the implication is yours isn't. Or you get in the media talking about, oh my God, this celebrity has done this and da 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 da. And the implication is you haven't. So we're swimming in this sea of comparison, and the whole idea of comparison is almost like it's forced upon us, and not in a positive way, because we can compare ourselves to someone, and then we have one of two directions we go. One is we compare ourselves to someone and then we feel that we are not good enough, and that's when we start to doubt ourselves. And then there's two, but this is the rarer one. We compare ourselves to someone and we get inspired by their story and their journey. And that's a positive thing, because then we can use that inspiration to move forward ourselves. And I'm very reluctant to say better ourselves, because I think that's utter BS. We are amazing as we are.
Yeah.
It's just that we need to move forward, not become better or become greater, because we've all got greatness inside of us. Greatness isn't something we need to learn. It's already there. It's just that it's hidden by all this conditioning. So it's all about moving forward. It's all about using these, if we do compare ourselves, used as an inspiration, not as something that's going to make us feel inadequate or doubt ourselves, or because like self-doubt and imposter syndrome are like this.
Mhm.
There's so many overlaps. It's like you do these Venn diagrams, the
Yeah.
intersecting circles. Like the intersection is massive when it comes to like normally when you have these Venn diagrams and you have the two circles, the intersection is quite slim, it's quite
Yeah.
slender. But when it comes to imposter syndrome and self-doubt, it's actually the outer bits that are slender, and
Almost overlapping, probably.
the overlap is massive between them, because there's a lot of things that it's caused by a lot of similar things. And one
Mhm.
of the big things is when we compare ourselves, and it's almost like we're conditioned to compare ourselves. So like
Mhm.
we see it in the media, we see it on TV, in movies, wherever we see it. Because at the end of the day, the negative side of things sells. Negativity sells newspapers. That's why the majority of the stories in a newspaper are doom and gloom,
Yeah.
because our brain is hardwired to be more aware of the bad things instead of the good things, because the good things can't harm us. So, oh, that's okay. Let that carry on then. The bad things have the possibility of harming us. That's why our brain, because our brain's primary function is to keep us safe. So it will notice things, um, notice the negative and the bad things more than the good. It's like that's why the peripheral vision of our eyes are more sensitive than the center. So we can notice maybe another person or an animal trying to sneak up on us from the sides. So it's all about survival. Uh,
Mhm.
and like the media taps into that. But for them, it's good business because they sell papers, they sell like online subscriptions, whatever it is. So for them, it's a good business model. But for the rest of us, it's not so good for our mindset and our mental health, because we're kind of forced to look at the negatives, and we're forced to think negatively of ourselves and
Mhm.
doubt ourselves, and consider us to be imposters. Like, who am I? Who am I to, like, I could turn around to myself and go, who am I to coach someone? Who am
Mhm.
I to help someone to change their life? But, and this is for everyone watching, you've got enough proof and evidence already in your life that you can do this stuff.
Mhm.
Like for me as a coach, I got so many people who I've helped literally around the world. I've helped someone to um, stop taking their own life. Uh,
Wow.
I remember back in Periscope days, which is now like Twitter Live or X Live. Um, in Periscope days, I was speaking to a guy. So I'm speaking and they're typing. And it was a guy in Paris, and he'd very recently he'd split with his girlfriend, and he was so depressed and sad and upset. And I helped him. And like I remember 2 weeks later, he came back on my broadcast uh just to tell me how much I'd helped him and how much I'd helped him to change, and he was much happier.
Mhm.
This is, I mean, this is the beauty of the internet as well.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can you can literally help people around. It's not helping people in your locality anymore, it's global. uh,
Mhm.
and your help and advice and influence is a global thing, whether you want to admit it or not. If you're on social media, you're global.
True.
And people can learn from you and be inspired by you. and
Mm.
and I if ever I go through any periods where I'm doubting myself, because we all do,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether I'm a coach, whether I'm the self-doubt coach, doesn't matter. If anyone says to you, I can help you eliminate your self-doubt forever, I'm really sorry, but they're lying to you, because there's always going to be something that
Yeah,
happens that triggers it again. But
absolutely.
it's having the tools and the techniques to help you to get through that makes the difference. Um, so and I look back at my own career, and not just in the coaching career, it's throughout my entire life where I've helped people. And I did it with a friend of mine. I mean, we've known each other now for, ooh, it's got to be 30 years. And they'd kind of settled in life. Their heart wanted to do more, but it's almost like they'd settled. Oh, this'll do. But
Ah,
I helped them to actually come back out of themselves and do more things. And that was back in the early part, like the first half of my life. And when you look back at all these things, it does make you go, yeah, I can do this stuff.
yeah, you
We all
can.
do it, no matter what we're doing in life, or no matter what direction we want to go in life. We all have enough proof and evidence that you can do this.
Hmm.
Whether it is like me, specific to my coaching, or whether it's just to tell you that if you want to change something in your life, you can do it. It may be a tough journey, but you always have the strength to do it, because you've done other things in your life which maybe you look back and think, oh my God, look what I did. And it shows us all that we've got the strength to do it.
Yes, and talking about all the things that you did, you're also an archery champion. And when I read or I understood this about you, I was like, wow, that must have taken a huge amount of work and dedication. Did you experience self-doubt as you were going through that
Oh,
journey?
of course.
And how did you overcome that yourself then and later, if you had other situations that you can remember where you experienced self-doubt?
It's really all about keep making those steps, keep taking those baby steps one at a time. Don't, it's good to have, like, when people are setting goals for their life or their business and career, it's good to have a long-term goal, because that gives you, that's like putting the destination in your sat nav. You know which direction you're going. But then it's all about focusing on that step after step after step. It's like when people use the analogy of, if you're driving at night and you've got, I don't know, 100 miles to drive, all you have to focus on is those 1 to 200 meters in front of you that your headlights are illuminating, and the 100 miles is just a series of those all put together. So you only have to focus on that first step, and then the next, and then the next. It's like that with the archery. There were times when, "Oh, I'm just not getting any better," and there was plateaus I reached. Um, but the higher you went, or the higher I went, and obviously I went to national level, but the higher I went, the less it became about the technique and more about the mindset.
Hmm.
So, like at my height, I was practicing every Thursday night, every Friday night, and then I'd travel and shoot and practice all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and that was every single week, through rain, through shine, through snow, whatever it was. And that's an example of keeping that one step in front of the other going. But I got to a certain level where my technique was really, really good, and it was solid. It was absolutely concrete, and I was happy with it, but I still wasn't going up with the scores, which is obviously what I needed. And then I realized it was all about this stuff up here.
What
Uh,
changed?
I can't remember. It was one of those kind of natural progressions into it. It wasn't one of these, when someone has these massive aha moments.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't. I was still doing the baby steps. Um, it's just that the subject of each step gradually went away from the physical technique and gradually became more of the mental side of
Mhm.
things. And once I started to change that mindset, um, and actually thought more positively, if I'm thinking back, it wasn't a case of, I wish I could do this. It was, right, I'm doing this. This
Mhm.
is what I need to do, and I'm going to get this done. And the more positive I became and the more determined I became, that's when the scores started going up again. Even to the point where I'd be on a tournament,
Mhm.
and for me, it worked. It doesn't work for everybody. Um, I would artificially put myself under pressure, because
Mhm.
that would then give me about another 15% on my scores. Um, and it got to the point where I absolutely knew that no one was even close to me. So I would turn up at, say, a weekend tournament, and you could see like my competitors, who were my friends as well, because we had a great laugh and a time, like in the evenings, but on the course it was business.
Mhm.
Um, you could see they was thinking, oh, I wonder if I could win this weekend, and I would arrive, and you could see the whole thought process change to, I wonder if I can get second this weekend, because I was so far ahead. And it got to the point where, thankfully, it wasn't an on an ego level,
Yeah. Mhm.
but it was a self-knowledge thing, that I knew I was the best in the country. I knew no one could even touch me in ability and scores. And that kind of thinking does tend to be frowned upon in society because we're called big-headed, egotistical, um, cocky, whatever names you want to come up with, that's what we're considered. And it's a fine line between knowing yourself and being confident in yourself and embracing yourself and being that cocky, quite annoying person. Um, but I think most of us, I think that being that annoying person, I think that tends to be down to more personality
Yeah, and
than
also maybe it's like how I perceive, these things is I think when we skip steps and like out of luck, something
yeah,
happens for us, we may not have the understanding or awareness of what it's like to go through every single step of the journey. Because, like you said, you went through every single step and everything
yeah,
just evolved naturally. And that also helps with keeping you grounded as well,
I
because you
agree.
appreciate every single step. And I relate so much to this way of growing because then, you enjoy your learnings and the journey more because you celebrate every win.
Yeah,
It's not like it's no longer about celebrating the end goal or the end win. It's just enjoying everything, isn't it?
it's enjoying the wins. It's appreciating the wins. And as you say, celebrate them because that's something that many people don't do. Doesn't matter how small or how large the win is, we should celebrate every single one because we've achieved that. We deserve to celebrate.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's like when you do have people who um maybe have skipped a few steps, like you do with some of the like the celebrities, and
Yeah,
they happen to drop onto this amazing movie role.
yeah,
It's propelled them from being like a what they call a jobbing actor to this superstar, and they haven't had the journey and experience in between. And those tend to be the celebrities who maybe aren't as nice to their fans
yeah,
as others are. And then you get people like Keanu Reeves,
yeah.
who's worked his way up, but again, that comes to personality as well because he's such a genuinely nice person.
Mhm.
He's very down. He's definitely get kept his feet on the ground. Like he'll ride the subway and he'll do this and he'll do that. And there's a big difference. The trouble is society now expects it's almost like the Matrix and expects to have that download to
Yeah.
do something in seconds. With It's like society aren't willing to be patient.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not willing to actually do the journey. They want to go from the start to the destination in as fast a time as possible. And don't get me wrong, it's wonderful when we can do that,
Yeah.
but we also need to learn patience and exercise patience and embrace patience because when we actually do those journeys step by step, baby step by baby step, one small step instead of one giant leap, then the results are more long term.
Hmm.
We It's easier for us to embrace that journey when it's
Yes.
small steps. When
Hmm.
it's done in these giant leaps, I think that's when the people become quite annoying because um I don't even thinking about it now, the more I'm talking, the more I'm thinking, it's not always the fact that they are not nice people. It's the journey has become overwhelming for them. And it's like what you said, they haven't been able to process it properly. And
Yeah,
that and they become this annoying person. But when you actually slow down and calm yourself down and embrace the journey, not just embracing the destination, that makes it so much more beautiful and sweeter.
it
Uh,
does. And I think there is a difference between taking a big leap and
mm,
making those steps at different speed, if that makes sense. So, for example, you need to take 10 steps and maybe you have energy and you have like a boost of
yeah,
energy and you've had enough sleep and you can make those same 10 steps faster rather than making a big one and skipping all of those steps and you don't know like how things work for you, what works, what doesn't work. And I find it being similar with, in coaching industry or in businesses in general, people say, I'll just hire someone and they will do the whole work for me. And that's amazing. That is incredible because that
yeah.
also can help us go from one stage to another faster. But it's something completely different when when we also take the time to go through those things. Okay, I need a website, but who am I? What kind of energy I
Yeah.
want to bring through that website? What kind of message? What kind of services? Because that website then can be done in a week, maybe. But the biggest amount of work, it's on ourselves, understanding who we are. And that's the longer journey, isn't it? Because we can hire someone to do, like, to package the services for us, but how would that person know what we're good at? Like, how would they know their story unless we sit with the story and then we invite someone to guide us and help us and coach? I think there is a difference between expecting those quick wins and taking those leaps and understanding that there are a number of steps that we can take slower or faster, depending on how much energy we have.
And we don't see when we make these steps on a fast level, because I my mind works in it visualizations come into my mind. And what's just come into my mind is, we drive most of the time, and we drive whether we stick to the speed limit, whether we drive fast, doesn't matter. The fact that we're driving and we get from point A to point B in as short a time as possible. And then if you actually walked that
Yep.
same journey, you see the beauty, you see the intricacies, and you see, oh, that person's garden's lovely, or this is that, or that's that. You see the beauty along the way when you actually slow down and you make it those, instead of these massive leaps, which effectively a car drive is, you make it in these small steps and it slows you down. It actually, and it sounds a bit strange, but slowing yourself down will speed up your success.
It does.
And it will make your success a more of a long-term thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, because like you say, when you actually slow down and you make these small steps, you see the things and you experience and you learn to do these things. And so it's all about embracing the journey,
Mm-hmm.
just desiring the destination.
Absolutely. And Darren, I just have to ask you this. We talked about these incredible and things and important things for our journey and growth. And about your achievements and how you overcame certain challenges. I also know that you have a big passion about sound engineering, working with sound. I know you've created a course about creating your own podcast. So, to everyone who's watching us, if you feel that this is something you want to create, honestly, Darren has so much experience in all of these things, as you've heard in his experience. I'll drop the link to his website in the description of this video. You can check that out. But what I want to ask you, Darren, how does sound help you in your life and journey? And also, Do you feel that through sound you connect with what's outside of this planet in the universe? And if yes, then how?
Really good questions. Sound, I mean, I love to listen to music. I love to listen to music while I work. Um, and his sound is like music has always been part of me. I'm not one of these who, wanted to become a musician, but like just being in the presence of music and and it's all sorts of music. It's not just rock or metal or pop or whatever. I love everything. I mean, I saw a TikTok the other day, and it's this guy goes around. He starts playing piano in when these public spaces have a piano there, and he starts playing in it. And this guy, it's obviously arranged, but this guy starts playing. I think it was Vivaldi with him. Now, this is something. This is music that is hundreds of years old, but it it feeds your soul, your very
Mm,
soul. And there were so many people who just stopped and watched and listened. And then you've got when you're talking about like getting out of ourselves, out of even the planetary system. Because I mean, 20 years ago I wrote an article about how the next form of um interstellar travel will be through our mind. So and then you look at music technology called binaural beat technology, and the whole idea is you have this. It's like radio. So like you have these carrier frequencies. So like here, radio one is 97.9 megahertz. So you've got that, and then the music is carried on top of that. So with binaural beats, you have this main carrier frequency coming into your head. And then the lower frequencies, which then entrain our brain state to come down into this relaxed level, is on top of it. And the whole idea is the sound that goes into your left is 180 degrees flipped from the one in the right. So the carrier frequency cancels itself out in your head. And all that's left is this lower frequency um, wave that actually then helps your brain to come down in. So beta state is when we're really alert,
mm,
and then it tells you to come down into alpha state, which is really start calming and all this like. So music technology can be incredible, and sound is more powerful than people actually realize. Sound can break glass.
yeah,
Sound can soothe a crying baby.
yeah.
Sound can help you to become to go into such a brain state where your consciousness expands out from you, out from the home, out even from the planet. Um, Sound is amazing. And they've even shown that water stores sound frequencies. So
Mhm.
you can actually feed audio to like a bowl of water, for instance, and it may take, I don't know, 10 minutes to get the whole water to resonate properly. And then you can stop it and then come back in a couple of minutes and do the same thing, and the water would get into that same state it took 10 minutes to get to in about 10 seconds. It remembers
Mhm.
sound, and we all remember sound. We all have, excuse me, a trigger where we'll hear something and it will take us back in our memories to a certain point in our lives. And sound is sound is more powerful than I think most people realize, because they just take it for granted.
Mm,
But when you start to use it
mm,
and use it right, it's like at night, I've got Headspace on my phone, and I'll play one of the sleep tunes, and I'm normally quite quick to go to sleep, but it halves the time it takes me to go to sleep, and it also helps induce an even deeper sleep than normal. So the
Mhm.
sound is just love it. And I think that's why I enjoy working with sound. I enjoy teaching it. And as I say, I worked in professional audio for it's close to 10 years. Um, and that coupled with the electronics understanding as well, it was just amazing. And I remember, I know I'm waffling on a bit here, but part of the like when we used to have this soundproof room to test like say the graphic equalizers. And I always remember you feed this source sound into the equalizer, and then you put each slider up and down, and you hear it. But when you did the 50 hertz, which is what mains works at in the UK, 60 hertz in Europe, um, literally the whole room shook just by putting one frequency of a slider up. And
Oh.
that's all to do with what sound can do.
It really is powerful, and I mentioned to you earlier that I watch a lot of things on Gaia, and I remember I watched a documentary where they actually did an experiment of how sound can heal someone. So
Yes.
there was a group of people who were singing something, some sort of sound with a particular vibration,
Yeah.
and that really really contributed to someone's healing. And it's the same with prayer, right? When a lot of people pray at once, it's not necessarily about that specific religion or that specific prayer.
No,
It's
nothing to
the
do with that.
sound and the vibration and the
Sound.
intention.
Yeah, it's the sound, the vibration, and the intention that is put into it.
Yes, and that comes from heart. And
Yes.
yeah, I was having some conversations earlier with a few of my clients, and they shared with me situations in their life where somebody else prayed for them, and I believe that yes, it's that intention that comes from our soul, heart, mind, but then there's also the sound and the vibration that comes with it. And thank you so much for sharing this, Darren. And I'm glad we remembered to bring this up into the conversation, because I truly believe, I agree with you, sound is very powerful.
Well, you just a quickie. If you look at a lot of the older stuff, so like um back in the day, like hundreds of years, the way monks would sing, the way, like when you said it's nothing to do with religion, it's not. If you listen to like monks and and choirs and like pagan songs and Wiccan songs, they all have a very similar vibration to them.
Yeah,
And the music structure is very similar. It doesn't matter what religion you are, where you come from. It's a global thing, and it's all very, very similar. If you listen to it, the way people chant
yeah,
and sing, it's all very similar. And it's like you say, it's healing.
it is.
It's healing in one of the most amazing ways.
Thank you so much for this, Darren. As we're getting to the end of this episode, I would love to invite you to share any kind of inspiration and any last words that you'd like to tell our viewers and everyone who's here joining us.
Oh, that's a good one. So, remember, it doesn't matter how you feel, you already have greatness inside of you. And I always liken it to maybe a walk through the woods in autumn or fall, where the leaves have fallen and they've covered the pathway. And that's what happens to us through the conditioning and the media and society and family and friends. Our true selves gets covered. But all you have to do is brush those leaves aside or brush the conditioning aside, and you are once more visible, and you go, hello, hello, world. Now, and you allow that greatness to come back. It's not that we have to learn greatness. it's already inside of us. Every single one of us, every single one of us is unique. It's like
Mm,
they say, the odds of us coming to Earth is something like 5 billion to 1. And yet we're here and
mm.
we're doing it. And, we have our ups and our downs, but we are still unique, amazing, beautiful, and great people and creatures. And that's something you should never, ever, ever forget, because it's so important to remember those times when we doubt ourselves, those times when we lack confidence, those times when we feel like an imposter. Always remember that you are incredible, you are amazing, you are unique, and you shouldn't feel that way. Just remember who you truly are and then be that person once more.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your presence today, Darren. I appreciate you being here with
So
us.
welcome.
And I appreciate everyone who's watching us. If you liked this episode, please click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so that you know when we will upload other episodes here on this channel. And check out the description for this video to connect with Darren and also to download a free gift from me. Take care. See you all again soon. Bye-bye.